What is happening to Blackpink? A question that suddenly swept across Asian social media after the group's Hong Kong concert, where the four members embraced and cried on stage as they closed their world tour deadline. That single emotional image was enough to ignite widespread speculation. Is the world's most influential K-pop girl group, Blackpink, approaching its end? Yet by focusing solely on the question of disbandment, the public may be missing a far bigger picture. Tears on stage and a familiar K-pop fear. Idols crying at the final stop of a tour is nothing new. However, in Blackpink's case, those tears emerged within an especially sensitive context. The group's contract with YG Entertainment for group activities is set to expire this year, while all four members have already separated their individual careers from the company. This coincidence led many fans to connect scattered clues into a narrative K-pop has repeated for over 2 decades: contract expiration, individual paths, and eventual disbandment. Emotionally, such fears are understandable. Blackpink is not merely a girl group, they represent youth, memories, and a global cultural symbol for millions. Strategically, however, this situation may be fundamentally misunderstood. Blackpink is not facing an ending, they are undergoing a redefinition. The key difference between Blackpink and previous K-pop groups lies in their current operating model. YG Entertainment no longer manages the members comprehensively, but only oversees group activities such as albums and tours. Individual careers, music, fashion, acting, and personal branding are now handled by companies founded or chosen by the members themselves. In other words, Blackpink has not disbanded in the traditional sense. Instead, they function as an alliance of independent artists, for self-governing individuals who retain the option to reunite when the timing and purpose align. This structure is uncommon in K-pop but entirely familiar in Western music markets. The tears were not about separation, but about the rarity of togetherness. One crucial detail often overlooked is that longtime fans know Blackpink has always been emotional at the end of tours. Those tears do not signify collapse, but awareness, an acute understanding of how precious the present moment is. As each member's individual schedule grows increasingly demanding, standing together on one stage is no longer guaranteed. It is precisely this growing scarcity that intensifies the emotions of a tour's final night. They were not crying because they were losing one another, but because they knew the next reunion would not come easily. If anything is ending, it is the era of total idol dependence. Rather than asking whether Blackpink will disband, a more accurate question may be, what era are they leaving behind? The answer is the traditional idol system, one where artists are fully bound to a single agency. Blackpink now exemplifies a new path: idols who mature, gain autonomy, and control their careers without sacrificing group identity. If successful, this model could become a powerful precedent for future generations of K-pop. Blackpink, a girl group or a global cultural brand? At this stage, Blackpink has transcended the definition of a typical idol group. They are a brand, a cultural phenomenon, and a bridge between K-pop and the global mainstream. From that perspective, disbandment in the traditional sense is no longer the most logical option, artistically or commercially. What the public is witnessing is not collapse, but a complex transitional phase where emotion, strategy, and the future intersect. Don't ask when Blackpink will end, ask how they will return. The deadline tour may have concluded, but Blackpink's story has not. The tears shed on the Hong Kong stage were not a full stop, but a pause, a necessary silence before the next chapter begins. And perhaps that is what keeps millions both anxious and unable to look away. Blackpink is not falling apart, they are moving ahead of their time.